So the Ukrainian armed forces are working under the nose of the aggressor. 5 hits in Bryansk. Iran has angered Trump again, and Orban threatens to keep robbing Ukrainian banks. Ukraine is developing a new ballistic missile capable of reaching Moscow. Greetings, friends. This is the project In the Crosshairs. I'm Alexander Prepodobny. Let's get started. 5 hard hits. The General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine has released a video of the destruction of the Kremlin plant in Bryansk. Here are the footage of the strikes. Ukrainian military claim they successfully used Storm Shadow missiles on the Bryansk microelectronics plant. By the way, this is a key plant for producing the brains and nervous system of the Iskander missile and other modern weapons. Russian media reports 6 dead and 37 injured. Russians shared footage online showing the aftermath of Putin's so-called special military operation. President Zelensky personally confirmed the strike on the plant in Bryansk.
The Bryansk plant was hit. It produced control systems for all types of missiles of the Russian Federation. I can only congratulate our armed forces. Well done.
Meanwhile, in Tolyatti, Samara region, the enterprise Kuybyshev Azot was attacked. One of the workshops there is on fire. And Ukraine is also working on a new ballistic missile which, attention, can reach Moscow. What kind of weapon will the Ukrainian armed forces get their hands on? Find out in our next report.
Ukraine is working on a new FP9 ballistic missile that can reach Moscow. This was revealed by Denis Steilerman, co-founder and chief designer of the defense company Firepoint, in an interview with Army TV. He noted that the key feature of the missile should be its high speed when striking the target, which makes it difficult for air defense to intercept.
The FP9 will easily hit targets in Moscow because it has a very high speed when reaching the target. For example, the Iskander currently has a speed of about 800 meters per second, while ours will be over 1,000.
Tests of the FP9 missile are planned for early summer. Denis Steilerman also said that Ukraine will soon begin testing another new missile directly on the battlefield. This is the FP7. Its warhead is more powerful than the American ATACMS, while its cost is about 2.5 times lower. According to the stated specifications, its range reaches 200 kilometers, and its maximum speed is up to 1,500 meters per second. Meanwhile, Moscow has been experiencing serious communication problems for the 5th day in a row. Local authorities are not providing any explanations. Earlier, it was reported that the so-called whitelist has begun to be widely implemented in the capital of the Russian Federation. Roskomnadzor told journalists that questions related to the operation of mobile internet in Moscow should be directed to the Ministry of Digital Development. This is happening against the backdrop of a massive drone strike on Russian territory. On March 9th, the Russian Ministry of Defense claimed that Russian forces allegedly shot down 754 drones in a single day. According to military analysts, this is the largest number of drones ever to have attacked Russian territory and the temporarily occupied Crimea. This set a new record for the number of attacks on Russian territory and, as experts note, may indicate a significant increase in drone production for Ukraine's defense forces.
Now let's move on to events in the Middle East. Iran has begun mining the Strait of Hormuz, which greatly upset Trump. The head of the White House threatened Tehran with unprecedented consequences for such actions. And what about Iran? Well, Iran continues to strike everyone in its vicinity. The day before, they struck a German base in Jordan. Let's take a look at how it happened.
Iran attacked the Al-Azraq air base in Jordan, where the German military contingent is stationed. According to Der Spiegel, citing sources, ballistic missiles were launched at the base from Iranian territory on the evening of March 9th. The strike hit the section of the airbase where the Bundeswehr camp is located. Units of the US Air Force are also stationed there. It is currently being determined whether these were direct hits on the base or if debris from intercepted missiles fell on the territory. At the same time, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi stated that Tehran will continue to carry out missile strikes for as long as necessary. According to him, Iran does not intend to return to negotiations with the US after the American strikes. The head of the Iranian Foreign Ministry explained this by saying that Iran had a very bitter experience in dealing with the American side and that the Americans broke their promise not to strike Tehran. Araghchi said that the US attacked Iranian nuclear facilities but failed to destroy the nuclear program.
They also attacked our missile sites, but were unable to stop the missile strikes. We are ready to continue attacking them with our missiles for as long as necessary.
According to the Wall Street Journal, both the US and Iran miscalculated in their assessments of how the war would develop, which led to the prolongation of the conflict. According to the publication sources, US President Donald Trump expected that the initial strike against Iran's leadership, including the assassination of Ali Khamenei, would either lead to the collapse of the Iranian regime or to a repeat of the Venezuelan scenario. But that did not happen. Iran's strategy, which involved large-scale attacks on US allies, also failed. After all, the Gulf countries had warned of a possible response. The publication concludes that at present, victory for either side seems unlikely.
Viktor Orban is yet another friend of Putin who just won't settle down. His government was threatened that Ukrainian cash couriers would continue to be robbed because of this friendship. Of course, Kyiv responded to him. Let's take a closer look at the details in the report.
Hungary has allegedly decided not to return the bank's money for the time being. A bill to confiscate the funds has been submitted to the country's parliament. It was introduced by a deputy from the ruling Fidesz party, and the document is expected to be considered as a matter of urgency as quickly as possible. According to the draft, the money can be frozen for up to 60 days, supposedly for investigation purposes. During this time, the authorities intend to check the origin of the funds, the purpose of the transfer, and any possible connections the couriers may have with criminal organizations. Formally, the measure is temporary, but in practice, this could mean that the bank will not get its money back anytime soon. Meanwhile, Hungary's Minister of Transport, János Lázár, stated that the confiscation of the bank's funds was a response to Ukraine allegedly blocking the operation of the Druzhba oil pipeline. This was reported by the Hungarian publication Telex. Lázár confirmed that the cash shipment the couriers were transporting to Ukraine was detained deliberately.
We did what we did for a reason, and they will not get their money back. The money will remain here for now. We are waiting for the oil pipeline to reopen and for new Ukrainian cash shipments to pass through Hungary.
On March 5th, employees of the state-owned Orban Bank were abducted in Hungary along with their armored vehicles and valuables. The bank employees were operating two bank vehicles that travel between Austria and Ukraine, transporting cash as part of regular services between state banks. On March 6th, the illegally detained employees of Orban Bank's cash collection service returned home. However, the vehicles and valuables are still being held illegally. Orban Bank has stated that it will defend its rights and seek the return of its valuables. Earlier, Ukraine's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Andriy Sybiha, stated that by introducing a bill for the so-called legalization of the Ukrainian bank's money, Hungary is descending into a spiral of lawlessness. Sybiha emphasized that Ukraine will hold all those involved accountable not only for the theft of money, but above all for the harsh treatment of 7 Ukrainian citizens.
Well, now about the main thing. The Ukrainian armed forces continue their counteroffensive in the south. The defense forces carried out a successful operation and liberated almost the entire Dnipropetrovsk region. Read our report for more details on the situation at the front.
During an offensive operation in the south, Ukrainian defense forces liberated almost the entire territory of the Dnipropetrovsk region. This was reported by the head of the main operational directorate of the General Staff, Oleksandr Komarenko, in an interview with RBC Ukraine. According to him, in total, the Ukrainian armed forces have liberated more than 400 square kilometers of territory.
In a somewhat smaller area, the rear zone was cleared of enemy personnel who had infiltrated there, and almost the entire territory of the Dnipropetrovsk region was liberated. There are 3 small settlements left to secure and 2 more to clear.
Oleksandr Komarenko also said that the situation at the front is difficult but under control. He noted that the Pokrovske and Oleksandrivske directions remain the most challenging, where the enemy has concentrated its main efforts.
We are gradually stabilizing the situation through our active operations. Currently, the number of enemy attacks in the areas of Pokrovsk and Mirnohrad has somewhat decreased due to the redeployment of their troops toward the Oleksandrivske direction.
On March 9th, the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Oleksandr Syrsky, stated that in 1 month, Ukrainian forces regained control over a larger area of territory than the Russian army captured during the same period. In his Telegram channel, he noted that this happened for the first time since the Kursk operation of 2024. According to the Commander-in-Chief, Ukraine's defense forces are trying to seize the operational initiative and force the Russians to play by their rules. Syrsky also said that Ukrainian troops continue their counteroffensive operation in the Oleksandrivske direction. There, over the course of a month, the armed forces of Ukraine have regained control of more than 285 square kilometers of territory. The general added that Ukrainian defenders are holding back the enemy in many other directions as well, and in some places are making advances.
Russian tourists who are unable to return home due to the situation in the Middle East, have appealed to the Russian Foreign Ministry. They complain that Russia has abandoned them. Ticket prices have gone up, and the authorities are in no hurry to evacuate them for free. And here are the details.
Russian tourists are unable to return home due to the escalation of the situation in the Middle East. Air travel has been disrupted there, and the prices for the remaining flights have skyrocketed. People complain that representatives of airlines, tour operators, and employees of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Russian Federation are not organizing evacuation flights, not helping with accommodation, and not responding to messages. In desperation, Russians who are currently in Mali have recorded a collective appeal to the Russian Foreign Ministry.
Currently, there are about 500 to 600 Russian tourists here who have been waiting for several days for a chance to leave. There are virtually no available flights. At the same time, the price of tickets for the few remaining flights is rising to 1 million rubles.
Russians say they understand that Russian airlines want to profit from them and claim that there is practically no help from diplomats.
We see that many countries are helping their citizens return home by organizing additional flights. Russian tourists continue to remain here and hear only one thing. The Russian consulate says, solve your problems on your own.
The tourists say they are ready to pay for their own tickets but ask for affordable flights to be arranged.
If the government has left its citizens to deal with this situation on their own, then at least give people the opportunity to leave. The consulate even refused to bring medicines that are unavailable in Mali. We are ready to buy tickets at our own expense, but please arrange additional flights at a reasonable and affordable price.
Russians are also complaining about Russian tour operators who abandoned them abroad.
We purchased a package tour from you precisely so that in situations like this, it would be the tour operator, not the tourist, who handles organizational issues. However, we were told to resolve all issues with the airline on our own. We were left without accommodation, without a flight, and without any support.
Russian tourists stranded in Qatar complained about a shortage of seats on the evacuation flight. Passengers who simply got to the check-in counter faster were able to board the flight. A tourist stranded in Oman said that half the seats on evacuation flights are left empty and sold for 200,000 rubles each. It is impossible to get in touch with the consulate. The airlines are not paying for people's hotels. Ticket prices to third countries have also risen significantly. That's
all the important news for now. We are following developments in Ukraine and around the world. So subscribe, leave a like, and see you in the project in the crosshairs. Take care of yourselves.